Everyone, Natalie here. A bit of a change in scenery and also a bit of a change in the usual programming for my channel. Back to my roots, literally, we might say. When I first started my channel, I used to mainly do gardening videos, and today I am uploading this video as I thought it would be cool to share where I'm at. Hopefully give you guys some words of inspiration or relatability. So I took a bit of a break last week from uploading my usual content because I just had a few things in my life that I needed to focus my attention on. Mainly, we had some building work going on in our house. Second of all, I got a new job, and so wanted to focus my attention on getting situated with that. But this week, I thought I would essentially film a think tank type of video while I sort through this box of goodies. So this morning, my husband went out on a supermarket run, and I asked him to pop into the store where you can buy some really good seed plants, and to see if they had any veggie plants yet, and was in luck. So I joked in the text message to him and I said, can you get me one of everything? So I don't know what he's bought, but we're going to have a look, and I'm just going to inspect them for pests and everything. And as I do that, I guess I will chat with you. So what I want to do is talk about comparisons and why we make them and how damaging they can be. So we all do it. I guess from an evolutionary point of view, we are accustomed to making comparisons with ourselves to others, to, I guess, see where we're going in life, how we're doing in life, and giving our lives a meaning and trajectory, I think. For example, in the old days, people would only have people around them, immediately around them, to compare themselves to. For example, that could be their neighbour. We have the expression of keeping up with the Joneses, and our family members and our friends. We would compare our lives, our decisions, etc., with them, sometimes favourably to ourselves and sometimes unfavourably to ourselves. But in modern life, strawberries. In modern life, we are more likely to compare ourselves on a wider scope. So we can compare our whole lives to somebody's highlight reel. So obviously, every single social media presence is a cultivation of whatever that person wants us to see, right? We are never able to be privy to all aspects of somebody's life and somebody's identity. And so should it be that way, right? We are only ever able to show one or two facets of ourselves at any given moment. So with modern life comes comparisons. And from my point of view, comparing yourself with others is such a damaging exercise, because we rob ourselves of compassion for ourselves and for others. And I'll give you the example of, let's say I have been learning the guitar. Let's say I've been learning the guitar for 1 year, and my friend John is also learning the guitar for 1 year. And if I compare what my skills are at a certain point, and I compare it to John's, I might think, God, my playing for a year, my learning, my skills are so bad compared to John's, who has also been learning for the same time. In doing that, my self compassion diminishes because I'm not really understanding why, the why. Why is my playing not as good as John's? But it also robs me of understanding why why John's why John's playing is so much better than mine. Because what I don't see is perhaps John putting in, while I'm sitting in the greenhouse talking to you guys or I'm knitting, maybe John is putting in those hours to practice. So my comparison, therefore, robs the compassion that I may have for myself and for John, because I'm not in possession of the full picture. I am only comparing what I perceive as my failures to what I perceive are John's successes, and that is a futile practice, futile exercise, because at the end of the day, what do we get out of that? That comparison of saying John, that comparison of saying John is so much better at me than me at playing the guitar. That needs to be washed. Is so much better than me at playing the guitar. So we have some bok choy. So much better. Yeah, so that comparison of pitting myself against John's skills just succeeds in making me feel bad about myself. So some might say that comparing ourselves to others can be a productive tool to motivate us to do better. So back to my John's guitar playing versus my guitar playing, I might think John has the ability to practice and to do well at the guitar. So that has given me motivation to do well and practice at the guitar as well to get my skills up. Now, on the face of it, yeah, I agree. So that can give you motivation. It's the same thing as we would say envy. If we notice the presence of envy within ourselves, that could serve as a tool to show what is important to us and maybe what we want in life, and can help us get that direction towards, a fulfilling life. And I'm all for using negative emotions, negative feelings, and turning them into positive, because negative emotions like jealousy, envy, and I'm going to include comparisons here, can be quite destructive. So, on the other hand, we may compare ourselves favorably. So, me comparing my guitar playing and saying that it's worse than John's, even though we have been playing the guitar for the same amount of time, can make me feel bad, and that can be quite destructive to our self-esteem. It can also demotivate ourselves. We might also think, if John is so good at playing the guitar, why should I even bother? Because I've been learning for a year and my guitar playing is bad for what I think the level it should be at for that amount of time. So it may demote ourselves from even trying because we think, oh, this is not for me. But on the other hand, we may compare ourselves favorably to another person. We may say, oh, this person lives in a smaller house than I do. I am so much better um, than this person. And we might think, God, that's such an egotistical thing to say or to feel. But I think that we all do it in some respects. And it all comes from a point or a position of insecurity, I think. Because if we were truly secure with what we have in life on the whole, we wouldn't need to compare ourselves to others, and whether that's up or down. These comparisons are damaging because whether you are comparing up, you compare somebody around you as superior or one aspect, because quite often we're not comparing our whole life to somebody else's whole life, because everybody is individual, and it's near impossible to really know somebody inside and out, and it's really difficult to compare the whole of ourselves, who we know inside and out, to somebody else, because we don't know that full picture. So it's usually the comparison is usually one aspect. So in my case with John, where I'm comparing his guitar playing, I'm not comparing his looks. I'm not comparing myself to his possessions. It's usually we compare one aspect. And that is an important point, because it's strange how the mind chooses who and what to compare to, right? There is usually some way that we perceive the comparative object as similar to ourselves, comparable, because, like the saying goes, if we compare apples and oranges, it's a strange comparison, but it's not a ridiculous comparison, because they're both fruits. So in my case with John, I'm comparing his guitar playing to mine, because we have both been learning at the same amount of time, right? It would be really ridiculous of me to compare my guitar playing to BB King, for example, right? So, so our mind is selective about who and what we compare ourselves to. So that's something to be aware of. Like, but ultimately, whether you are comparing up or you are comparing down, if we compare down, it's also a futile exercise, because yes, it may feel good, and it might give us an ego stroke. But the important thing to realize is that ego stroke is temporary, very temporary, because ultimately, if we feel good because we live in a nicer house than Mary, I live in a nicer house than Mary's, it's a shallow comparison, because it's external. Yeah, it doesn't mean that I am grateful or I am practicing gratitude for what I have. It's I am thankful about something because somebody else doesn't have it, and that is not true appreciation. Yeah, it's an external appreciation. It exists only to compare it to something else. And all of these things is destructive, because it distracts us from pouring back into ourselves. For me, this isn't a real example, it's not John with his guitar playing, but for me, in my life, I don't compare my life to other people's, because I am happy with what I have, who I am, and what my life looks like. The reason why is because it is mine, because I have cultivated a life that is not like other people's lives. And this is the way everybody should be looking at their life, right? I'm not saying that I am happy with every facet of my life, but life is good. However, there is an aspect that can cause some insecurity, and that's my YouTube channel. And this is the thing. In the past, we would compare our lives with our neighbors, with our family, with people we knew in reality. But now we compare our lives or our profiles or whatever it is with other people. Let's say a viewer watching a knitting YouTube and comparing that person's output with how much they produce in the year compared to how much they produce in a year. Or people compare their their wool or yarn stash to a YouTuber who is sitting in front of a whole wall of yarn. And so in the way that they're comparing their possessions or how much money they think they have, and all of that stuff. And again, it's superficial, because we don't know whether this person has a lot of money, a lot of generational wealth, or they work their ass off in a good job to be able to afford what they have. We don't know. Or they could be running up racks of debt in order to purchase that yarn. I mean, I know that I wouldn't want to be in that situation, right? In another way, platforms like YouTube give you metrics to compare, right? And this seems like it's an objective metric, right? So, and that is likes, views, subscribers. Those are hardcore numbers that might indicate how well liked, how popular, how good something is. For me personally, my comparisons begin when I look at my subscriber count, for example, and I think, wow, like that's my that's my growth rate. But then if I change channels and I look at another YouTuber who has, let's say, 5 videos out and they've got double the amount of subscribers that I have, and I think, wow, their growth rate is a lot faster than mine. And of course, that's going to make me feel bad about myself, bad about my videos. But if our subscriber metrics were private, let's say, so nobody knew how many subscribers another person had, how would I feel about the amount of people who have subscribed to my channel? I would be absolutely elated. I don't even know personally the amount of people who have subscribed to my channel, you know? So even if you have like five subscribers, or you have 20 subscribers and you don't know them personally, that's incredible. You know, somebody has liked your presence enough to hit that subscribe button. So that's why, in a nutshell, why comparisons just mess you up, right? Mentally, because what I should be focusing on, as in, wow, that amount of people, or let's say a video I produce gets 100 views. That's like me sat in my greenhouse, in my garden clothes, talking to 100 people. Like for me, I would find that super hard to do, right? But then because I compare my video that I uploaded a week ago to somebody else's video who uploaded their video 2 days ago, and that has 2,000 people viewing that video, that makes me feel bad about the 100 people who sat and watched my video. And that really shouldn't be the case. So that is what I'm personally working on, or not working on, reminding myself of, because I know that it's destructive to compare yourself. There's something that happened to me, and I don't even know if it happened to me, because, you know, ideas are ideas, and if I have an idea, then chances are somebody else is going to have the same idea. So a few months ago, I recorded a video, and I was really proud of thinking up this idea and doing the research for this video and uploading it. And because I'm a very small YouTuber, like just a beginner, didn't get, you know, the reception that I hoped it would have, but that's okay. I had fun producing it, and you know, I'm proud of uploading it, of what it is, right? But then in my recommends a few weeks back, I saw that a much popular YouTuber had uploaded a similar kind of video, and that's fine. But as a smaller creator, it is going to feel like, if whether that person saw my video or not is not that important. In the moment, you think, oh, I had that same idea, but my video performed so much worse than another person's. So you're going to feel a kind of way about it, because that's just human. But at the end of the day, that kind of made me think to focus less on conceptual videos because I feel like they can be easily lifted. I'm not talking about, I'm not saying that I reinvented the wheel on this video, but for my channel, because I'm so small, I am proud of the fact that I'm able to experiment more because that's just my nature. And rather than just every episode, this is what I've knitted, I like to inject a lot of my other interests into my videos. That's what I have been trying to focus my energy on because I'm also interested in multimedia, stop motion, and it's very integral to who I am as a person and my influences growing up and things like that. So it's fun for me to experiment and try to combine knitting with multimedia and things like that. It's fun to combine passions. And also, that is a way that we focus on ourselves, focusing on elements of ourselves that make us us, right? Rather than comparing ourselves to an external source, whether that's favorably or unfavorably, it distracts us from focusing in. And I'm also thinking that it's harder to replicate. Yeah? So, and I know that I am going to grow a lot slower than other YouTubers because I'm on my own path and I'm doing my own thing, and doesn't appeal to everyone. I'm not for everyone. If you want that, there are lots of beige accounts that are way more popular, but that's not me. And also, if you find yourself comparing yourselves to others, remember that you may not be for everyone. And what is for you will not pass you by. I have a small community of people who interact with my content. They message me magna scrolls of messages, and I return those magna scrolls of messages. And I feel like that's a great rapport. There are people who are very popular and they can't do that. I'm not comparing, but yes, I'm comparing. I just compared down just then, right? But it's a coping, isn't it? It's a coping mechanism so that we don't go mental with our own insecurities and with our own perceived shortcomings. We compare ourselves favorably to another to make ourselves feel good about ourselves, but it's short-lived. These are pretty. It's very short-lived. So that is why I have been focusing more on like my intros, for example, because I can do that and make it personalized to me because I have cut out that piece of paper. I have stopped that frame from a video from a shot that I took from a wheel that my turtle is on that I made with my own hands. So I'm a maker kind of girly, hands-on, getting my hands dirty. And that's not easily lifted from like a YouTuber with like 30,000 subscribers because that's me. And you need to focus on being you because you are precious, my friend. We all are in our own ways. So we need to like stop trying to be what spotted you. You need to get blasted off. Sorry, I was talking about some eggs in here. So guys, when you purchase plants like this, right, it's really important to inspect them and inspect them for bugs and all of that stuff before they go anywhere near your other plants or anywhere near your garden beds because they can rear their ugly heads later on in the season, especially brassicas and caterpillars because they lay their eggs and decimate your crops in a few months' time. So it's good to take the time out to do that. And so I will actually update you on what I have. So my husband bought one tray of bok choy. Oh no, two trays of bok choy. One little cell tray of spinach. I also have two little strawberry plants. This is calabrese, which is like a form of broccoli. And what else do I have? I have a tray of red cabbage, and I have two. Well, yeah, and I have another tray of red or purple broccoli. So yeah, so these actually shouldn't be, the brassicas are only in the greenhouse just so that I can inspect them, and then I will probably give them a hose down and then inspect them again. And then I need to work out a way to cover my brassicas because I end up covering them at the moment of planting, but I don't inspect them, or I don't inspect them well enough. And so by the time they are in the ground, they're already covered in um, white cabbage, butterfly eggs, and so it's just heartbreaking when suddenly, sunny day, a month or two after you have planted your brassicas, and then you see, and then you've done your due diligence by covering your brassicas, and you think that it's sealed all the way around, and then like one day you come out and it's your netting under the brassica, sorry, your netting over the brassicas is just full of white white butterflies, and you know that they're having the time of their lives, just flitting around, eating everything. So that's hard going. So I kind of have stopped trying to grow brassicas because of that. So if I had gone to the shops, I wouldn't have bought brassicas because it's kind of put me off. But now that I've got them, I'm going to try hard to keep them. So that's where we're at with garden. I have also my oranges here and my lemon tree there. I also need to purchase some herbs, and yeah, and some cucumbers, but they'll probably do that a bit later, a bit when the weather is a bit warmer. With my videos, I hope to inspire others rather than giving anybody things to like directly lift. So give ideas that people are able to build upon. Well, I'm not here to put food on the table. Obviously, YouTube earnings, it's great to have, but at what cost? Back next week with a knitting update. I have some really nice projects to share with you. And yeah, I'm wearing my Soldotna by Caitlin Hunter. And I think it's time to go blast off these plants. And I will speak to you soon. Bye.